What's up guys, the StrongBoys19 here. This is going to be my update video for the end of the month, which is September. I have bought a ton of stuff on CD and on vinyl. So, with that being said, I will not be going on too long about every single one of them because there's a massive pile of them to show for this video. Let's get started with the CDs. The first one is Jessie Ware's That Feels Good. This was one of my top favourite albums from 2023. I have loved the album pretty much straight away. It's one of those albums that deserves the acclaim because it's consistently jolly, playful, addictive and full of positivity. I'm really glad that I did discover more of these musicians whose inspirations are so strong that really got me intrigued to discover another artist whose performance and styles of music can be full of dedication, and the material on this album is just fantastic. The next one is a live in the studio recording of TNT by Wormrot, the favourable band of mine of the grindcore genre. They are just intense. The loudness, the rawness and the in-your-face destruction is still obliterating. An amazing grindcore band from Singapore. I have reviewed their album Hiss when it came out, and that was another amazing album from this band. Definitely check out this brilliant live in the studio recording of their material. The next one is a new album that came out this year from the Talking Heads musician David Byrne. It's called Who Is the Sky. I don't have a lot to say about this because I have not listened to it. David Byrne has been one of those musicians who I consider to be quite an artistic genius. Some of his solo stuff had been praised through the earlier works, and I think David Byrne has always been quite an intelligent and fascinating individual, so I would like to check out this new album. Some people have given this a positive review, but there are some other comments from the fans to say that his earlier stuff before this are better. So I'm inclined to discover his own stuff for the first time. The next one is from another pop musician. Not gonna lie guys, I think I have been a growing new fan. You may say what you say about this musician, but for this pop musician who released her latest album last year, I could have put this in as one of my top favourites from 2024 because I love a lot of this album. Billie Eilish, Hit Me Hard and Soft. As you can see, I put the sticker on the packaging instead of the cellophane. There you go. I love a lot of this album. I was amazed by how not only vulnerable and personal, but how honest this album really is. I have always shared my respect for Billie Eilish, but I knew there was something very interesting about her, and this album proves it. I love a lot of the album's material. Her brother Phineas's material, of the chord arrangements to the style of production, they're both perfect. I love the vocal melodies, as Billie herself has shared a lot of expression, as well as the lyrics that are not just as heartfelt, but they felt even more personal than what she achieved on her previous stuff. Her previous stuff are great, but this is her best album in quite a long while. I know that Happily Ever After came out more than a few years ago, but this one deserved the acclaim and the awards. The next one, Judas Priest Turbo. A very controversial and divisive album for many fans. So I do want to know what you guys think of this. Besides that there were loads of these hair glam metal bands like with Motley Crue and Def Leppard to Poison. I never really cared about that style of music. I have respected those bands, but I have never been a fan of them at all. But this is the style of music of glam metal takes from Judas Priest that I actually really like a lot. This is a brilliant album. It's one of my favourites in their discography. It's not a classic, but I can understand why people would say this is an underrated classic. I've revisited Judas Priest recently with Defenders of the Faith, as well as to play this album and other ones, but I really like a lot of this album. A few weak songs, but with the takes of the lyrics that were so intentional at the time, and as well as with the sound of the guitar and drums, there are some great songs on here. So I want to know what you guys think of this album. The next one is another one for my Slipknot collection. I did not buy the 6 LP box set because the price is astronomical. Why would I want to buy the full box set when I can just buy a much better and an even more simple version of the 25th anniversary of Slipknot's self-titled album? The first disc is the usual track listing minus Frail and Nursery Impurity. The second disc is with the demos and the different alternate mixes, which I obviously have heard when I was a lot younger, when I heard these demos and separate sounds of their music on YouTube through a raw bootleg audio recording. But now that they are released officially in this anniversary, I'm very pleased to see the recordings to be out as a proper product. Very pleased to have this for my Slipknot collection. I might just get the double LP version as well. The next one, Depeche Mode Violator. This is one of my favourite albums of all time, but not only that, this is one of the 20 greatest albums of all time. It's a 2006 remaster that can perfectly go along with the other ones of their albums I have on CD behind me. Violator is one of the most essential albums in the synth pop genre. Yellow Magic Orchestra with Solid State Survivor, a fantastic Japanese band whose synth sounds to the overall music can be energetic and as playful, very addictive for those who love this style of music. This album was released in 1979, so I am pleased to discover Yellow Magic Orchestra, as I wanted to discover many more bands and artists from Japan because I love Boris very much, and I have been getting into a band called Boredoms, another experimental, very stylistically different band. But Yellow Magic Orchestra had been known as one of the greats. Peter Gabriel with I.O. This is the 2 CD version of the album, which contains both the bright side and dark side mixes. A near perfect album from one of my most favourite solo musicians of all time. I loved I.O. when it came out, and it was a big privilege to see him perform the album's material before the album came out. Pink Floyd, A Saucer Full of Secrets. This is a 1994 EMI remaster. It's a very good album, but I don't love it as much as Piper at the Gate of Dawn. I bought this 1994 EMI version so that it can connect comfortably with the other ones I have on CD, or most of them anyway, because some of these remasters have been printed in Holland, some of them in different countries, but this is a very interesting take through the continuation of their psychedelic period, but it's not as strong as Piper. And for me, being a Pink Floyd fanatic, I do like this one, but there are much better ones in their discography, in my opinion. This is another promo for my Slipknot collection, Duality. This promo contains the single edit and the album version. That's what the disc looks like. The eBay seller gave me an offer which was a very good price. It was not a very hard promo to find because there are other ones out there in the internet universe that some of these other promos are extremely rare and difficult to get a physical copy of for my Slipknot collection, but I am very pleased to see this one as one of the easiest ones. I went to the Flapper earlier this month to see one of my favourite rising Birmingham metal bands called Vanitas. They did a new EP launch of their latest one called Journey to the Sun. Got it signed by the band themselves. A really, really great EP. The last track reached 100,000 views on their YouTube channel, which is amazing. Check out Vanitas, as I've talked about the band previously when I reviewed their Chaos Theory EP, which I've also bought. This is still my personal favourite from the band, signed by them as well. An amazing cinematic proggy style band for you to discover. An album that has been on my wish list for quite a long while because of a different style of music, and I'm still interested to check out more of these separate styles. Donald Fagen with the album called The Night Fly. I have not played this one yet, but I was really interested to discover what this album is going to be sounding like. So this is an 80s album that has been known as a classic that I wanted to check out for the first time. So that is that for the CDs part of the update. Let's go over to the records. Okay, these records are in no particular order. The first one is a 7-inch single, an original single of Black Sabbath's Headless Cross, which contains the track of Cloak and Dagger, which is another really good song. This was obviously from the Headless Cross period, from the Tony Martin, era of Black Sabbath, released in 1989 through the IRS label, the record label that has been defunct for a long time now, for 30 years I believe. It's in pretty good condition, although I would like to clean up the 7-inch, but it is an original from IRS. I don't really collect a lot of these 7-inch records, but I thought, why not for my Black Sabbath collection? 4 LP box set from one of my favourite bands of all time. That is Tangerine Dream. This is a compilation box set. Tangerine Dream 70 to 80. I apologise for the different lighting changes. I know it's very annoying. Booklet of photographs, different pictures of the band at the time. Collection of recordings through the years. In fact, I think Tangerine Dream have been the #1 band that I have most original pressings of. Virgin Records. I think it's a compilation of multiple different stuff. Besides the case, has been in some battered bits, but at least the records are in pretty cool condition. The next record is from a band that I've really liked a lot, but I want to make a video about this album because, not gonna lie, I actually have loved the album when I first listened to it. Jethro Tull, A. This album is very much nothing like what Jethro Tull had achieved previously. For those Jethro Tull fans who know the story about this album, they know that this was originally a solo album. It was originally intended to be in that direction because of Ian Anderson. Ian Anderson wanted A to be this difference of production as well as with the style of music. There's a lot of this style of material on the album that I was invested into what's going on, because the material is not only in the progressive electronic veins of sound, but this contains some of my favourite Jethro Tull songs. I would like to talk about this album in a future video, and I would have to say that this is actually one of my top favourite albums in the Jethro Tull discography, even though it was originally a solo album idea. The next one is an EP, a Music on Vinyl limited EP from Music on Vinyl, released in 2020. This was originally released in 1991. Slow Dive with Holding Our Breath. I love Slow Dive through the style of the dreaminess of pop and shoegaze on orange vinyl, and it's gorgeous. A very nice brief collection of songs, and it also has the track Golden Hair, which was written by Syd Barrett. Todd Rundgren, Utopia. This was amazing. Loved a lot of this album, and I also love the look of the label, which I'll show right now. As you can see, yeah, it looks very cool. There's so much tightness, the adrenaline, and it is a wonderful style of progressive rock that is as energized. It's tremendous. I do highly recommend this album. Love this album cover as well. Echo and the Bunnymen with the album called Ocean Rain. This was a band I wanted to get into for a long time, because loads of people have raved about this band. An original European first press, and the price was perfect. I wanted to get into Echo and the Bunnymen for ages, and I was amazed by this album. I love the album cover as well. I love the shade of the dark blue with the guys on the boat. The next one is from a legendary band that needs no introduction. Queen, News of the World, an original pressing from 1977. The artwork is also very, very cool. That's the right way round. Of course, we know We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions. There's Sheer Heart Attack. There are other songs on here that are so underrated. This is one of my favourite Queen albums in general, so I might as well just collect this. I almost picked up Queen 1 and 2, but this one caught my eye first. Another Electric Light Orchestra album for the collection, and this one is called El Dorado. This is an excellent album. Not one of my top 3 favourites, because I'm a big fan of Face the Music, which turned 50 years old recently, and A New World Record is such a masterpiece. I love Discovery, but many ELO fans say that this is another one of their high favourites. One of my favourite live albums of all time, AC/DC, If You Want Blood, You've Got It. An original UK first press. This was AC/DC at their best, and it still is as outstanding. Angus Young was unstoppable, Bon Scott was terrific, the band at their tour de force. The next one up, PFM, the Italian progressive rock band. I don't want to pronounce it again, because I did get a comment from a person, I think a few years ago, that I've mispronounced it, which is totally okay. This is an album called The World Became the World, die-cut sleeve, which I do love a die-cut sleeve. This was released on the Manticore label. Minimal looking presentation, but this is another one for the PFM collection. Enya, another original European first press. This is the follow-up to her masterpiece album that I love so much, Watermark. I've heard loads of people sharing their love of this album as well. Enya has been pretty much one of my favourite solo artists from the moment I was listening to Watermark. Shepherd Moons has been one of those other Enya albums that tons of the fans say that it's another masterpiece. Another Todd Rundgren album, Initiation. The presentation of the artwork is fantastic, and this was released on the same label like with the Utopia one. Todd Rundgren has made quite a lot of albums that I wanted to check out. Haven't played this one yet, but many fans say that this is a classic and a great album overall. Another Madonna album. This is an album called True Blue, which features the songs Papa Don't Preach, Live to Tell, and La Isla Bonita. Madonna's one of my favourite musicians. This is another original pressing on the Sire record label. Elton John, Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy, an autobiographical masterpiece. This one is my favourite Elton John album. Yes, there's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road and Honky Chateau, but this one really holds quite a good place for me, because there's some nostalgia when I was listening to Elton John for the first time, and to hear some of the songs from this, it was like, wow, this is a brilliant amount of material. This is not an original, this is a first UK repress. The next two albums are from another one of my favourite Birmingham bands around. It's one of those albums that got better with every listen, and it is my second favourite from the band. The Moody Blues, To Our Children's Children's Children, on the Threshold label right there. I know it's small, but you can see most of the label name. What I adore the most about this album is it's just as a cozy, vibing and warm album that's full of beauty. There's a lot of beauty through this album's material, and besides, there's In Search of the Lost Chords to On the Threshold of a Dream, and some of the other stuff in their beloved period of their music. This is one of those albums I consider to be one of their best works. And the other one I have is Seventh Sojourn, another very nice and great piece of work. It's one of my other favourites, but I would still think that the children's album is stronger. I'm really interested to go into the later Moody Blues albums, although they have not been like as very successful of reviews and opinions from the fan base, because they loved the classic period. But still, the Moody Blues have been one of those bands that always inspires me to listen to loads of the admiration of sound through vocal harmony and excellent musicianship. Second to last one is Paul Simon's album called The Rhythm of the Saints. This is the continuation where Paul delivers more of the percussive and adventurous side of the music after Graceland, another near perfect, really strong album, one of the other biggest favourite albums in his own career as a solo artist, in my opinion. I saved this one best for last because it is a late 80s reissue, but it's a Japanese pressing. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, their live album called Pictures at an Exhibition. I don't collect a lot of Japanese pressings, but it really depends on what type of release interests me enough to collect a Japanese pressing. Emerson, Lake and Palmer are a band I really like a lot, but I don't love them as much as the other progressive greats like with Pink Floyd and King Crimson, Jethro Tull, so far and so forth. Live album that caught my interest mainly through the Japanese obi strip, and I'm curious to listen to the sound quality of it. So that's the big reason why I bought this Japanese pressing of a live album. The first Japanese pressing I've ever bought was the live album of Bob Dylan's Live at Budokan. That is my update video for today. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll keep you guys posted for more videos in the near future.